And you know, I'm a big EV fan. We have two electric vehicles. We have a Tesla Model 3 and a Hyundai Kona EV. Got a charging station in our garage. We power it with solar. I'm a big fan of the technology. We've been driving some form of an EV for over 10 years. We're kind of on the cutting edge of this sort of thing and just love the technology. Well, now there's something new coming forward, and this really caught my attention. And now this new electric car that's coming forward from a company called Fisker is going to have battery swapping technology. And you're thinking, what's that mean? Well, what this technology is really interesting. And it will, you know, rather than going to a charging station and plugging in and waiting, they can actually remove the battery and reinstall the battery in a matter of minutes, and you could be on your way. And that's actually a clever idea. It's a good idea, I think. Now, there's a lot of complexity to this, and you kind of wonder how is it going to work. But apparently, these battery swaps will only take a few minutes, and it will still cost less than getting gas, according to this company. Now, one of the hurdles, you know, with electric cars is people have this fear of charging. How am I going to charge? Will my car run out of charge? And if I have to charge, how long do I have to wait? Well, let me just lay it out for you here. We have an electric charging station in our garage. That means that we charge our cars when they're not being used. And that charging station in our garage handles 100% of my wife's charging needs to commute to work and do everything she needs to do around San Diego County. And it covers well over 90% of my charging needs. The only time I ever have to use public charging is if I'm on a long road trip, like a really long one. Like if I just go from my home in Poway up to LA and back, I can do that on one full charge. It's a tight squeeze at the end. I barely make it, but I can do it. But when I've gone on road trips to San Francisco, to Tahoe, to Reno, to Vegas, to Tucson, I even did a road trip to Albuquerque in 2018 before there was barely any infrastructure. It was really an adventure. But those are the only times I have to use public charging stations. And when I do, my car usually will take between 45 minutes and an hour to charge when I'm on the road, kind of depending on how much juice I have on my battery and depending on the speed of the charging station. But generally speaking, I'm using high-speed charging stations. Now they're coming up with new cars like the Hyundai Ioniq 5. That car can go from 10% to 80% charging in, I think, about 18 minutes. So the technology is getting better. Charging is getting faster. But still, even an 18-minute charge is a lot longer than it takes you to fill up your car with gas, which that normally only takes what, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on the size of your tank and how much gas you need. So what these guys have come up with a plan is to radically reduce this, is to actually, rather than, you know, filling your car up with gas, it'd be like getting a brand new battery and just plugging in and going. So Fisker, who's the EV manufacturer, is partnering with a company called Ample, a battery swapping startup, to offer just that for the Fisker Ocean SUV. The Fisker Ocean, by the way, is a new car coming out in 2024. It's really interesting. It actually has solar panels on the roof, so it can charge while you drive, but it doesn't nearly convert the sun and the photons into electrons fast enough. You still need to charge it. But they're going to have this battery swapping technology as part of this car. And it's going to be lower than the cost per mile for gasoline. It'll be cheaper than gas. And so here's how their technology works. It says after a driver pulls into one of their battery swapping stations, the vehicle is lifted up and its dead battery is automatically removed and replaced with a fully charged one. And the whole process is automated and only takes a few minutes. And there's a couple of other really big advantages to this. These battery swapping sites can be installed in just a few days, as opposed to now, when if you want to put in a charging station, you've got to get permits, you've got to have, you know, a high voltage line, you got to trench, you got to pour concrete and build the pad for the charging station. You don't need to do any of that. And at the same time, users now can buy EVs without a battery. And now with this battery swapping technology, you can subscribe to a battery. And then as battery technology improves, you can get newer battery technology. Now that's pretty interesting to me. And this will make it a lot easier to recycle the old batteries, which I know that technology is improving as well. I think this is really cool. And I think this is kind of similar to what we talked about with Highway 56, that technology is what's going to solve a lot of these problems. And here we're seeing with EVs major leap forwards in charging speed, battery capacity, new technology coming forward, new startups coming forward, with new models, and now battery swapping as an alternative to plugging in. It's something. I think this is cool. That's why I think investing um, in building overpasses and tunnels for subways and trolley, I think is, looking backwards to the 20th century rather than looking forward to the 21st century and where this technology is going to take us.